Hello there everyone, my name is Crazy Caleb, and today we're going to be taking a look at Not the Bulb. We're continuing our way on with the Not modded modules, and today we're going to be looking at one of the harder ones in the Not modded Speaking Evil area. So before I even get started with this module, the way that we are able to distinguish the bulb from not the bulb is not because it's always going to be off, though that is true, it will always be off. The way that you can distinguish it is because there is a different material present on the bottom. In this case, it will be one of 5 materials: copper, silver, gold, blue plastic, or carbon fiber. If the screw cap is ceramic, which is just a pure white, similar to the inside of the bulb in this case, that means you are looking at the bulb. In this case, though, taking a look at the module here, this is carbon fiber, this is gold, this is silver, this is copper, and our blue plastic, if I can find one, is right here. So that will be the way that you distinguish them from one another. So in this case, we have carbon fiber. The one that people tend to get mixed up the most is the plastic and carbon fiber. In this case, as it says up here, it is a blue plastic, and the carbon fiber is the one that's obviously not copper, silver, or gold. So that's the way that you'll be able to distinguish them from one another. The materials will be relevant later on, and it is very important that you do pay attention to them. So I'm only going to go over 2 examples today because the module itself is pretty straightforward. However, this can be a bit tricky and it takes a bit of getting used to. So the way that the concept works is once we load up an example here, let's get just only 2 of them now. So once we figure this out, what we're gonna do is we're going to simply tap the center of the bulb before we do anything. And selecting the bulb before either of the buttons will cause it to flash a sequence in tap code. And the important difference between this this tap code and like the tap code from the module tap code is kilo in this case is equal to 6-1. Normally when we look at this manual here in tap code, 1-3 in this case is equal to both Charlie or Kilo, and then you would find out based off of the words present and the letters that you would receive from other characters. However, in this case, 1-3 is guaranteed to be Charlie, and in this case, 6-1 is Kilo in this case, to distinguish them from one another. So let's take a look at what we need to do. So the hardest bit of this module is actually receiving the tap code because it flashes very fast, and each second will be guaranteed to have each second, each timer tick will essentially be flashing one of these 5 or 6 numbers in this case, that amount of times. So let's actually take a look and let's start receiving the message because let's get the hardest part done. So in this case, I'm going to be tapping the side of my computer. That helps me personally for receiving this message by tapping with the amount of flashes and typing it down. And you can do it whichever way you want. It is important to note that we do not need the entire sequence, as you can pretty much figure it out from a few letters in this case. And another thing that I'm going to note, I am using Crypty in this case, just to make my life a little bit easier with some of the encryptions. It is illegal to use this in challenge bombs, so just word for the wise, don't do this during challenge bombs. Because this site is technically illegal and it's not part of the repo. You are only limited to repo services. So if you need to, you can use Textual's calculator and make up some kind of formula yourself. In this case, I'm just using Crypty for the sake of tutorials. So, note to self, there you go. So, let's actually start receiving the sequence. So we're going to tap the center of the bulb, and it is important that you do not interact with the module while it's transmitting. I believe Dicey had an issue with it where it just completely bugs the module if you happen to interact with anything else. So it is advised that you do not interact with it. So let's start receiving the sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, and that hopefully should be enough for me to figure it out. But as I said, this actually does flash very, very fast because its whole goal is to give you one number, in this case, in a full timer tick. So let's see what we can figure out from here. So let's hope our entire sequence was correct, and in this case, we can actually go back and, as long as we haven't interacted with the left or right in this case, any of the other buttons, we can simply get the sequence until we have it confirmed. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That was not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it looked like it was 3 in this case. So I'm glad I caught that mistake. So let's take a look at these 5 letters in this case. And let's take a look at the tap code manual. So for those of you who aren't familiar with tap code itself, the first number you receive is going to be your row, is going to correspond to your row, and the second number you receive will correspond to your column. So in this case, our first one is uniform. So in this case, our next up is 3, 4. Next up, that's going to be Oscar. Then 2, 3 is hotel. Then 5, 4 is going to be Yankee. Then 3, 1 is going to be Lima. So now what we're going to do is we need to figure out, this word is encrypted and it's not, and we need to figure out which one of these words it is here. So this word is encrypted using 2 different methods. It's going to be shifted, or it's going to be shifted to the left 0 to 8 letters, or it's going to be Caesar shifted 0 to 25 letters forward. So what we must do is we must simply do the reverse of this to figure out what we're looking at here. So in this case, it is shifting. The first thing we want to do is we figure out the Caesar shift. So in this case, the Caesar shifting is going to be shifted forward. So we need to figure out what the Caesar shift was by doing it backwards. So let's take a look here. And hopefully, what we can do is with these 5 letters, we can figure out one of these words based off of these letters. It is important to note that because it is shifted to the left, sometimes it can loop around to the front. So we need to make sure we pay attention to that. So let's take a look here. So let's plug you guys in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is set to the minus side. So we're going to go starting at 0. We're going to go now down Caesar shift. And let's see if we can figure out any words. It is advised that you do not actually do this during challenge prompts, as I said before. And perhaps we can figure out something here. Let's see if we can find a part of hair. So let's see here, hair. And perhaps maybe looking at something else, and hair. Perhaps let's keep going. Let's see where else this takes us. See if we can get anything else that's actually equals to a word. A-U-N-E-R, perhaps? That's not what I wanted. I don't want Chrome. Go away. Any U's, perhaps? A-U-N-E-R. I'm not seeing anything, so let's continue on. So I'm not seeing anything, so it was likely some of that. It was something of that N hair, perhaps. Or maybe it's O-I-B-S-F. Let's take a look. So N hair. Let's find all the words with that have an N in it. See if we can figure out. It's very likely that it could be this right here, Harlequin, because of the fact that it is very close. So let's actually check and see if that 5th character makes sense, because N hair, it was a shift of 7. This should be a Lima, and yet it's not. So let's figure out what I did wrong with that word. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4, 3 in this case. So that's my bad. 4, 3. In this case, that equals on tap code. That's going to be equal to 4, 3 in this case is a Sierra instead of a Lima. That's my bad. I don't know how I misinterpreted that. It might have just been a break that I misinterpreted, that I just looked over. And in this case, if we plug in S instead of Lima, it does indeed give us Harl. And then the Harl corresponds to Harlequin. So now that we figured out our word that we're going to do, because based off of the Caesar shifting, we need to figure out how many times it was shifted to the left by shifting it opposite to the right. So we have N Harl, and then we'll type out the rest of this word. N Harl E way. So based off of the amount of times that it was shifted to the left, we need to figure out. So we need to figure out how many times it was shifted to the left by shifting it to the right in this case. So let's shift it to the right. In this case, it was shifted to the right 7 times because we do the reverse here. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is shifting to the right, so we're doing the opposite of what it's saying. So because the transposition was it was shifted to the left, we're just simply doing the opposite to figure out how many times it happened, which in this case is going to be 7 based off of everything that we did. So so what happened was that we shifted to the left. We shifted to the left 8 times because the November was in front, and in this case, if we shift to the left 7 times, it puts us back into the position that it was before. So we shifted left 8 times, and then it was shifted forward 7 times. And that is what we need to figure out for this bit right here. So now what we must do, since we figured out our word in this case, we're actually not going to be submitting this again. We're actually going to be using these transpositions that we needed, these transformations that we needed to figure out. And what we're going to do is find the word in table A that starts with the first letter of the encrypted word. In this case, the encrypted word was right up here. In this case, being uniform. So we're going to look at the one that begins with a uniform. And now we're going to do those changes that we just did, we just figured out from the encryption process, and we're going to do that to universal. So in this case, universal, let's type it out. So now we're going to go shift to the left 8 times as we did to Harlequin, as what happened with Harlequin. So we're going to shift to the left 8 times. So in this case, we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to put these 8 characters in the back. And now what we're going to do is we're going to plug this into Crypty here. And now what we're going to do is, instead of doing it minus 7 times, because that was shifting backwards, we're going to shift forward by what we did before. So in this case, we're now going to shift this guy forward by 7. So let's take a look here. So now these characters that we get from the entire sequence, once we get done with the shifting to the left and shifting it forward, what we're going to do now is we're going to submit these characters based off of the color of the bulb and the characters that we were given. So in this case, we have a white bulb. And our first character in this case is going to be a Sierra. So the way that these commands look is we have a left and right are representing the positions of the buttons, in this case left and right respectively. And India and Oscar represent the labels on each of the buttons, in this case India and Oscar. Now, before I move on and before we actually start submitting this module, what we have to do is we have to submit each 4 of these commands, and we're going to then, after each command, press the center of the bulb. The bulb will not unscrew or anything. It will actually have the chance of making a sound. And what we must do is we must note down that sound, and what we must do is if a sound happens to play, because there is a chance that it may not produce a sound, we must modify it based off of the material the bottom part of the bulb has and the sound that was received. So the sounds that are possible that can happen here are the bulb, nonogram, tap code, stars, recorded keys, Sonic the Hedgehog, and double O. Now, the one that kind of screws with people the most is the fake strike from double O. The way that you'll be able to tell that you got a real strike is the status light actually lights up red in this case. It does not light up red if you get the double O sound. So the bulb is the select sound. It would be normally what you would do if you happen to select one of the buttons. In this case, you don't actually get any sounds from this module, and there's no unscrew sound from this one. The nonogram is the click sound when you're tapping on the board. It's a pretty distinct one. I'll hopefully get a chance to demonstrate that sound. The tap code is the tap from tap code, the one that you receive from tap code. Stars is the ding when you're pressing one of the buttons. Recorded keys is you trying to play each of the tunes, each of the 6 labels that you get on the button to figure out which one's highest or lowest. It's one of those keys. The bumper from Sonic the Hedgehog is the bumper. It's pretty straightforward. It sounds like a game sound, so it's pretty straightforward. And the fake strike is the strike sound from Double Up. So in this case, we're going to use those sounds and the bottom material of our bulb in this case. In this case, this one is indeed copper because it looks like a bronze, and that's what it looks like, and it has a shine, so that makes sense. The only one that doesn't have a shine is the plastic, so that's a way to distinct plastic from the rest of them. If you look at it from this side, it has that little shine that you see at the bottom there. So that's the way that you can distinct from them one another. So now, let's take a look. So now that we have that figured out, now that I've explained that, and the legend of series of encryptions are over here on the right side. Let's actually start submitting this module because we might have some modifications along the way. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to do whiskey, so white was our color, and Sierra is our first letter we're going to be submitting. So we're going to submit right, left, Oscar, and left. And notice those click sounds that were made. That is going to be the sound if you select the bulb. That's what's going to pop up in this case. So let's select the bulb to submit that letter. And that was a ding sound from recorded keys. That was the key sound right there. So now what we're going to do is for the rest of these letters, the ones that we have not submitted, we are simply going to be taking a look at the legends. And if a sound pops up, we're going to modify the rest of those that we haven't pressed yet. So now we have a mic in this case. Mic corresponds to ROT 13. What ROT 13 does, let me make sure I'm recording, by the way. I am indeed. So ROT 13, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, ROT 13 is simply taking the alphanumeric character of the letter in this case, and we're simply just adding 13. That's just the way that this works. So in this case, our first character is going to be Bravo, so that's the second position in the alphabet. And we're going to add 13 to that, giving us 15, which is Oscar. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just do the rest of those letters. If you happen to go over 26, just modulo 26, or just loop around the alphabet in this case. So we have 21 plus 13. Modulo 26 is 8, so that's going to be a hotel. Papa in this case is 16 plus 13. Modulo 26 is Charlie. Charlie, which is 3 plus 13, in this case, is Papa. Notice how it goes back because this is simply going over to the second half of the alphabet. So in this case, Charlie goes to Papa, Papa goes to Charlie, etc., etc. So now, Lima is 12 plus 13. Not 12 plus 12, 12 plus 13 is 25, which is Yankee. And then 25 plus 13, oddly enough, is 13. So modulo 26 gives us 12, which is Lima. Oddly enough, we had two of those transformations back to back. Now 26 plus 13, modulo 26, in this case, is 13. So that will be Mike. And then hotel, which is 8 plus 13, modulo 26. Not modulo 26. 8 plus 13 in this case is 21, which is a uniform. And these are the modifications we potentially will have to perform on each stage, to each letter that we have not submitted yet. So let's take a look here. So our next letter in this case is going to be Oscar, because that's what we got from the ROT 13. So we're going to be pressing left, Oscar, 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 left, Oscar, India, India. Left, Oscar, India, India, selecting bulb. That was a bulb sound, as you saw there. The module did flash, but it did also make a select sound. So we're going to do that modification now. In this case, it's a -1 left shift. So now we're going to take a look at these characters here, just these guys alone. Actually, I don't even need these guys anymore. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a -1 left shift. So in this case, a -1 left shift is going to just simply be a right shift. So we're going to take the last character and put it in the front. And that's the right shift right now. So our next character is going to be uniform. Uniform in this case is Oscar, right, left, Oscar. No sound was made. No modification needs to be made. Hotel is going to be left, right, Oscar, left. No sound was made. Moving on to the next character. Charlie is our next character. So we're going to do right, left, Oscar, India. That was a recorded keys sound again. So in this case, our last submitted character was Charlie. We're going to simply focus on these 4 characters. That modification. And now we're going to do Mike again, which is a ROT 13, oddly enough. So what we're going to do is 16 plus 13 is modulo 26 is a Charlie. And then Yankee and Lima, 25 plus 13, modulo 26. We've done this before. Lima and Yankee. And then Mike is 13 plus 13 is 26, so Zulu. So now, let's take another look here. So our next character is going to be a Charlie again. So we're going to do right, left, Oscar, India. And that was a nonogram click sound right there. I believe it's the solve animation sound afterwards that you can also distinct that from, but it is indeed just the click sound from nonogram. So in this case, this is a Sierra for our modification here. So let's take a look. So for our last three characters that we have present here, we don't need these guys anymore. So for our last three characters, we're going to apply the modification of Sierra. Sierra is simply just reversing the sequence, so that's simple enough. So we have Zulu, Yankee, Lima. Simple as that. So next up, our character is Zulu. Zulu in this case is going to be Oscar, right, India. That was another nonogram click right there. So we're going to simply do the last two characters in reverse, which in this case we get these two guys, a Lima, Yankee in this case. And these will be our last two characters. So Lima's our next character. We're going to submit Oscar, right, left, India.
Oh, I would love to give you that, but I really can't.
And you see right there, there was no red flash right there, but it was a fake stripe. So that means that, so now what we need to do for that last modification there is a delta. Delta in this case is a -1 Caesar shift. And since we're looking at our last character here, which in this case is Yankee, shifting it down by 1 will give me X-ray. So that one is probably the scariest, and it's also really cruel of Speaking Evil to do that, so screw you, but also that's kind of funny. So the module did give me that strike sound there, but the module status LED did not flash. So that's the way that you can tell the 00 strike sound from that. So in this case, our last character is X-ray, so let's submit it. And be prepared for one of the most satisfying solve animations you'll ever see. So in this case, we have right, India, Oscar, India, and to solve the module. And just like that, is a solved module, the bulb drops, and it breaks, and just like that, it's gone. Let's take a look at one final example. This module itself is pretty straightforward. It's a bit longer of a submission than normal. And the module work itself is actually not that bad. It's just keeping track of everything. So let's take a look at this example. We also have another copper in this case, and it's a yellow bull. So let's get our read here. I'm going to go through this a little bit faster because the module itself is pretty straightforward. Hopefully you got all those rules down. And hopefully we can get some more examples of the sounds in this case, but it's a pretty straightforward module. So let's take a look here. So let's get our sequence, which can be a bit tricky. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna have to double check that because that's a bit of a weird one. I want to say it was either 3 or 4 for that next flash. We'll wait for it to reset because we do not interact with it while it's transmitting again. Anytime now, there we go. So yes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it was 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe. It might be either 4 or 3 for that last one, and hopefully that should be enough characters that we get for that one. Yeah, so let's just make sure that that was 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case for that last bit right here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That's 1, 2, 3. Good, glad I caught that. So now let's figure out what our characters are in this case. And we have 2, 4. Let's go to tap code here. 2, 4 in this case is an India. 2, 2 is a Gulf. 5, 3 is an X-ray. And 4, 3 is a Sierra. So now let's pop this up into our Caesar shift here. And let's figure out what we get here. Moving on down to 0, making sure that we shift backwards in this case to figure out what our positive shifting forward was. Ecto. Maybe that we can do something with that. That seems like it should be pretty ecto. Yes, here we go. And if we want to make sure, we can actually get the next character and make sure that it Caesar shifts into an R to make sure that it's right. But there are no duplicate cases in this case, so that would be the likely answer. So let's figure out what our answer here is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 5, 1, okay. And just to make sure, 5, 1 in this case gives us a Victor for that 5th character. Putting that into the Caesar cipher gives us an Romeo, which in this case is exactly what we needed. Injectors. So injectors is our word. It starts at Hector, and that's going to be a Sierra afterwards, and then we have I and J. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out how many times it shifted to the left by shifting it to the right to get it to the first letter into the beginning of the word. So in this case, we can shift these letters 3 times to the right, and just like that, it gets us back to injectors. So we need to shift 3 times, and we need to Caesar 4 times. This is actually a really easy one in this case. So we need to shift left 3 times, and we need to Caesar shift forward 4 times. And that's what we did to get injector. So now, with the first letter that we're given, it's actually in India as well. So in this case, that's actually working out perfectly. So our first letter in this case, as we mentioned before, we need to find the first letter that starts of the encrypted word, and we're going to submit that word here. So in this case, that's perfect. We need to submit injectors, which is actually amazing. That's exactly what we just did. So injectors, in this case, we're going to shift left 3 times, and then now we're going to Caesar shift 4 times forward, which is actually going to be just what we got before. Injectors, we're going to shift forward 4 times in this case. And notice that we do have similar letters from before. In this case, we got lucky enough to actually get the same letter as the first word in this case. So let's take a look here. So we're going to use these letters to submit onto the module. So our color of the bulb is yellow in this case. We're going to highlight that column here. And let's start plucking away at these letters. And our material in this case is also copper, as we said before. And let's figure it out. So India is our first letter. India is going to be India, right, Oscar. That was a bulb select, so we're going to do Romeo in this case. Romeo is -1 left shift, so we're going to shift to the right by all of these guys by 1. So we're going to shift the one that's the rightmost to the front. We're going to do November to the front, and that's just like that, done. So November in this case is going to be left, India, Oscar, left.
No, I can't accept it. I'm not persuaded.
That was a fake strike from 00. There was no red flash from the status light, so we're good to go. So Delta is -1 Caesar shift for all of these letters here. So we're going to shift down by 1. So Golf goes to Foxtrot, X-Ray goes to Whiskey, Sierra goes to Romeo. Just making sure that's correct, yep. Victor goes to Uniform, Whiskey goes to Victor. Mike goes to Lima, and Romeo goes to Quebec. So now let's submit our next character. In this case is Foxtrot. Foxtrot in this case is going to be right, Oscar left. Oscar left. That was another bulb select sound. So we're going to do Romeo. -1 left shift, shifting 1 to the right. I don't care about you guys anymore. So shifting 1 to the right in this case. That Quebec is going to go to the front here. Next up, our next character is Quebec. Quebec in this case is India, Oscar, India left. That was a key sound from recorded keys. Mike in this case is Rot 13, my favorite. We'll use these last 5 characters for Rot 13 since we just submitted Quebec, and we don't have to worry about that anymore. So next up, so let's do Whiskey in this case, Rot 13. 23 plus 13 is 36. Modulo 26 is 10, which is a Juliet. 18 plus 13 minus 26 is a 5, so Echo. 21 plus 13 in this case, modulo 26 is an 8, so Hotel. 22 plus 13 modulo 26 is a 9, which is India. 12 plus 9 modulo 26, which we don't even need to do modulo 26 in this case. Add 26 gives us 21, which is a uniform. Wait a second. No, hold on. I messed up somewhere. 12 plus 13 is 25. That's my bad. So instead of uniform, that's Yankee. That's my apologies. I did the wrong thing. And now that we've done Rot 13, that's all good to go. So let's submit Juliet as our next character. Juliet, in this case, is going to be right, left, India, India. Nothing happened. Continuing on to our next character is Echo. Oscar, left, left, right. Another recorded key sound, and this is the reason why I kept the stuff from the previous stage, because we did Rot 13, and that can be annoying to do. all over again. So we can just simply get rid of these guys, and this is what we're going to be doing next time. So we did the rot 13, we just simply reverse what we did before, and our next character in this case is going to be uniform. So in this case we have left, India, India, right, and that was a ding from stars. That's hopefully distinguishable enough. Tap code makes a sound. Sonic the Hedgehog makes a sound. Again, you can figure this out. It's pretty distinct. Just as long as you know these modules from heart, you'll be able to figure it out just fine. So now we're going to shift one to the left in this case for these guys. So we just submitted uniform, so we're not going to focus on that anymore. And what we're going to do is we're going to shift one to the left. So in this case, Victor is going to go to the back. And next up, we're going to submit Lima. Lima in this case is left, India, right, right. And that was a tap code sound right there. So in this case, a Zulu in this case, for our last character, is going to be corresponding to Atbash. Atbash, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is simply you're just putting the character here in the position that is directly opposite in the alphabet from where it's at. Or the formula for this is 27 minus the alphanumeric position. In this case, Victor is 22. So in this case, our last character that's been Atbashed is an Echo for 5. So our last character that we're going to enter in is Echo, and to get our satisfying solve animation, let's solve it. So Oscar, left, left, and right. And just like that is a solved module. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, don't need scripty, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.